Hey, welcome to another video from SkinnyMedic. You guys have asked me to do a video about what if you're driving down the road and you run up on a wreck? What should you do? So, this is what this video is about. You're driving down the road and you either witness a wreck or you see a wreck that first responders are not at. So, let's talk about it. For me personally, if I see a wreck, I will kind of ease by. If everyone's up moving around, I don't typically stop. But if I look over and someone looks unconscious, they're not moving, they're laying on the ground, that's when I make the decision to stop. So it's just a personal decision, but like I said, if I drive by, it looks like a fender bender, everyone's up moving around, no big deal, I'm not stopping. If I drive by, I'm like, oh, that looks like a bad wreck, that guy looks unconscious, he's got his head down, or someone got thrown out, they're in the grass, or things like that, then absolutely, I'm gonna pull over. All right, so you've witnessed a wreck. And the first thing you have to think about is your safety. I like my truck. I like my truck a lot. Okay, I love my truck. But if I'm pulling up on a wreck, I'm gonna position it so it blocks traffic. Maybe just block the inside lane or the first lane or even half the lane, just enough to force those cars over. Because if some person is driving by and not paying attention, I want them to run into my truck instead of run into me. I do not want to get run over by some bystander who's not paying attention. If it's dark and you have some road flares, absolutely, I would put some road flares out, maybe trying to push that traffic over. Maybe if I have a bystander who wants to help me, give them a flashlight, tell them to go wave traffic away, especially at nighttime, to try to get traffic going away. Also, I turn on my flashers to kind of warn people that there's an accident, something going on. All trying to push traffic away from me. As you approach the scene, you need to think about the big picture here, the windshield survey, kind of taking in the whole thing, looking for down power lines, looking for fire, anything that's going to harm you or other patients or either other bystanders. You need to take that into the big picture when you're walking up or pulling up onto the scene. So for me, I would grab the first aid kit on the back of my seat here. It has gloves, it has bandaging supplies, has a tourniquet, has a lot of good quality medical supplies in it that I might need. So you've determined the scene is safe, you've got some gloves on, and now I want to see how many victims we have. And I haven't called 911 yet, to be honest with you. So I want to get some information gathered in my head before I make that phone call. That way I'm not like, all right, I don't know, hold on, let me count how many patients and all this stuff. So let me take just a few seconds and kind of gather some information here, and then I'm going to make the phone call to 911. I'd like to know how many patients they have. So maybe there's one patient, maybe there's two, maybe there's 4, 5. That makes a difference, because if I tell 911 that there's one person hurt, they're just going to send one ambulance. If I tell them they have 6 people hurt, they're going to send some ambulances out there, multiple ambulances. So start getting more resources coming quicker because I'm getting them better detailed information to start with. I also want to look for hazards like we talked about, fire. Maybe the person's entrapped. We can't get the door open. Or whatever reason the patient can't come out of the car, we want to let dispatch know that too when we call 911, because now they're going to send the right equipment to do extrication. So all this information we can gather, and then we'll call 911. They're going to start asking us 1,000 questions, okay? Understand that they are dispatching the appropriate units as they're still talking to you on the phone. But at least you have some good information, like, oh, you have 3 patients, one is unconscious, or you have 3 patients and they're all walking around. You have entrapment, you have fire. So you're gathering information and you're telling the dispatcher to get the appropriate resources to the scene. So kind of at the same time you're calling 911 or afterwards, it kind of depends on the scenario, you want to start treating patients, okay? It's going to probably take a few minutes for EMS, first responders to get there. So pick out the ones that you can help. If they're all walking around, they probably don't need you. I'm going to find the ones that are being still, they're not making movement, they may look unconscious. Those are the ones I want to try to help because they probably have a problem with airway, breathing, circulation, or they're dead, unfortunately. But those are the ones we want to start focusing on, the ones that we can help. The ones that are walking around, probably okay. But the ones that are severely injured, that's the ones we want to start helping. If someone's complaining of neck and back pain, I would typically just let them stay in the car. It's probably the safest, most comfortable spot for them to be, unless there's an emergency. For some reason that the car's on fire, the car may roll down an embankment, or whatever reason that the scene is not safe for them to stay inside the vehicle or wherever, I will make an emergency move to get them out. So if the car's on fire, by all means, I'm going to take and move the patient out of the car. I'm not really necessarily worried about their neck and back at that point. I don't want them to burn to death. Here's a little pro tip. If someone's still sitting in the driver's seat and you start assessing them, make sure the vehicle's turned off and make sure it's in park and the handbrake is applied. You would be amazed how many people don't turn their car off after a wreck. They still leave it in drive, or maybe it's in neutral, and you should put the parking brake on to kind of help stabilize it as well. So you've triaged the patients out now, and now you want to start assessing the patients. So we've talked about kind of leaving them in the car if they complain of neck and back pain just for their safety. But going through that March algorithm, I've done plenty of videos on the March algorithm, and that's how we assess these patients. We're looking for massive bleeding. We assess their airway, respiratory, circulation, and we treat for heat loss and head injuries, things like that. But as you find a problem, you fix it. If someone has massive bleeding, you put a tourniquet on it. If they have a problem with their airway, we're going to open it up for them. If they're having problems breathing, we should help them with that. So those are all things that we can go through the process and help treat patients before first responders arrive on scene. So I hope this video helps. You never know when you'll be the first responder. Remember the right gear and the right training.